Outgoing Greyhounds for your daily update of the latest news and tips.
Yeah, welcome to Going Greyhounds on your Thursday morning right here on Sky Sports Radio. Simon Orchard with you as always, and we've got a real treat for you on the program today. In just a few moments' time, I'll be talking to the Outgoing Greyhound Breeders, Owners and Trainers Association CEO, Allan Hilzinger. That's the GBOTA for short. Hilzinger took over from Steve Noyce around 12 months ago, but he's already handed in his resignation. And in an article published on the Greyhound Recorder website a couple of weeks ago, Hilzinger said, "I was very used to moving quickly and getting things done without being disrespectful at all. The framework I'm working within here really isn't conducive to that." He went on to say, "I want to change greyhound racing for the better, and I've realised that can't happen in this environment. As a CEO, you need to be working on the business, not in the business, and I'm forever putting out fires." Well, here we go. Turn your volume up, strap yourself in as I say good morning to Allan Hilzinger. Morning, mate.
Morning, Simon. How are you, champion?
Yeah, I'm going fantastically. Hey, let's address those comments off the top. You seem like a really motivated man and a guy who's got greyhound racing right at the forefront of your mind. You seem like you want to get things done and improve. What roadblocks did you run into in the last 12 months?
Oh, look, I think it's structural as much as anything, and there are processes. I'm exiting out here with some processes in place, at least at GBOTA, which are addressing some of those structural things. They could take 12 to 18 months to unfold and come to fruition, I suppose. So for me, a lot of people know that I didn't take this role for the money. Certainly didn't take it for the title. I came in to really have an impact on greyhound racing. I own my own property. Robbie Andrews trains all my greyhounds, and we've got about 25 plus greyhounds at the moment. And for me, this was about impacting greyhound racing and seeing what changes we could go about making over and above anything else. And on top of having my own couple of businesses that I really want to head back into pursue, that's probably been the biggest one. But yeah, you're spot on. To me, I think the way we're structured at the moment, amongst a whole bunch of different things, the politics, the people that want to kind of get involved and put those roadblocks up is definitely frustrating. And I think, over time, hopefully that changes. Let's put it that way.
Hey, we'll talk about your love of the sport in just a moment, but let's just touch quickly on structure and governance of the sport. So my employer, GRNSW, work alongside, I guess, GBOTA to deliver and improve on the sport of greyhound racing in the state. The Greyhound Welfare and Integrity Commission, or GWIC, does the same. Some will argue, Al, that these separate organisations are doing the sport a disservice and that we should unite for the greater good. Do you ever see that as a possibility? And if not, why are these separate entities beneficial for the sport?
Mate, great question, loaded question. I do see, look, again, it comes down to structure. I'm always, even in my business consultancy, I've always talked about structure has integrity, and that being that when there's a weakness in a structure, that's when things don't go right. So I think structurally, certainly things need to be adjusted. There is definitely a spot for each of those organisations, and I think the key is that everyone understands what they're there for, why they're there, and they have very, very clear guidelines on how they're working together. And traditionally, that hasn't happened. And why isn't that? I think it's progressing. That's for certain. I know that's one of the key things that I've enjoyed is in that 12 months building those relationships. I think historically, when you look at it and you talk to the person who knows GBOTA, who knows GCNSW, and they'll tell you that historically war's probably not the right word, although at times I think have been, but they've certainly not aligned and not got on. It's been more of a battle than actually collaboration. And, credit to Rob McCauley and to Wayne Billett, working with myself and the whole crew at GRNSW. This last 12 months, we've certainly worked on a number of ways that we can change that, and it's not an overnight fix. I think the challenge is where it sits at the moment and why people are probably frustrated is that you have GRNSW who are now running a number of greyhound tracks, and that creates a real bias in there. And I'm not saying they are biased, I'm just saying it creates a perception of bias. So you have them running some greyhound racing tracks, but then you have the other tracks that are going, hold on, why are they getting this and this and this, and I'm not getting this? And then GBOTA members view the same and going, oh, why are they doing that? And that's what creates it. And I think perception is real, and it's real to the people that perceive it. And that, to me, is a real challenge at the moment on how that is. And the reality is that that if you look at every other sport and those that are involved, let's just use basketball. My background 10 years ago, I was the CEO of a couple of different sporting organisations in basketball, and if you look at that, the commercial outfit, let's say Basketball Queensland for where I was the commercial outfit, and they stayed away from running associations and running competitions and all these kind of things, and they outsourced it to them for that exact reason, because of the perception. And then it was just a matter of being able to collaborate through that. So and I also think on top of that, you actually need that moderation. You need that because if I keep getting the letters around the wrong way, but if GRNSW want to make some decisions that are not participant orientated, then it's not a disrespect, because there's been a lot of people in both GRNSW and GWIC who have been around the industry for a long time, but there's not a lot of them who are in the industry. There's not a lot of them, like for GBOTA, a number of our staff, including myself, are in the game. We feel the loss. We feel the win. It's the highs, the lows of being a participant. We feel our trainer. When Robbie's on a high, I'm on a high. When Robbie's struggling for some wins, I'm struggling because I'm feeling for him. So we're actually in the trenches. And if you don't actually have that moderation of an organisation that's in the trenches, and that's the same as GCNSW, the collaborative of all the clubs, Greyhound Clubs, New South Wales. If you don't have that, then you don't have a moderator that is actually controlling it, and it becomes an absolute monopoly. I think, it's to me, the biggest thing is finding the right structure and people working on the right, I suppose, ensuring that everyone understands where each organisation fits within all of that as well. So probably a really loaded question, mate. We could go a whole show on talking about it. And I think the other part is understanding that historically we've got to this point. Now it's how do you make that work? GBOTA, I don't think it's any secret that GBOTA is extremely financially sound. Let's just put it that way. And moving forward, there's only so many dollars that can be invested into tracks, new tracks, upgrades. And we've been working closely with GRNSW on some potential collaborations, including in the Central West and other locations. And I think what you don't want to have is a battle where people are trying to battle over those dollars, purely through ego. It's like, how do we sit down and work out a strategy where both organisations absolutely win? And I definitely think there are ways that you can do that.
You mentioned the Centre of Excellence out in the state, Central West, Allan. I know the participants out there are clamouring, they're desperate for another track or facility. Is that a project that's going to go out the door with you, or is it still firmly on the GBOTA's radar?
Mate, 100% on the radar. I've actually given them a commitment that I'll, and with the consent of the board and obviously the incoming interim CEO, Daniel, that I'm going to stay in that project all the way through to see it through. It's going to be touch and go if it's before my tenure here finishes officially on June 9. And then if it still is, then I'll still stay committed to that, provided that they're still happy for me to go through with that. I would hope that by the middle of June, we are making some genuine announcements around what the future is out there. And it's strongly in process. It's just probably the final negotiations between each of the organisations when you've got council, government, GRNSW, GBOTA in there. But at this point, everyone's on the same page and just tweaking those final little things as well.
We're talking to the outgoing GBOTA CEO, Allan Hilzinger, handed in his resignation a few weeks ago. As he said, Al, you finish up on June 9. 12 months is not a lot of time in the job, mate, but you do leave with some notable achievements. What are you most proud of in your time as CEO?
Mate, it is. I think some of the things that I've left as well, which will unfold over the next 12 to 18 months, and I'm sure Daniel will do an unbelievable job because he's been there as my right-hand man throughout, which is fantastic. So it's not like somebody's coming in and not knowing what's going on and not wanting to pursue those things. But as far as ticking the boxes, definitely relationships. I think, as I mentioned at the start, the relationship between GBOTA and GRNSW traditionally has not been strong. And for myself, I've really enjoyed building relationships with Rob, with Wayne, with a whole bunch, yourself, and obviously everyone within GRNSW. And I would dare say that there's no issue at all with any of us picking up the phone and talking. And we've had some great conversations. Do we always agree? No, which is, again, why I think there's a platform for different organisations. But do we get to some good outcomes? I definitely feel like we have. Same with government, state government, and GWIC. So I think those relationships has been a big box ticked. Our corporate sponsorship. So we signed off on the largest corporate sponsorship in greyhound club history across Australia, and that one was it doubled what we were previously receiving, and has also secured up some very, very nice funding for GBOTA for the next 3 years with a 2-year option. And on the back of that, we also negotiated through to launch a sports bar at Wentworth Park, which in the first couple of weeks has been phenomenal feedback. I think it's something that we really wanted to focus on, is changing how the participants, the participant experience, and also others. Last Saturday night, we had a number of people turn up that weren't participants that enjoyed the sports bar there as well. So there are a couple of them. Culturally, our staff, we have 6 brand new staff as far as head office goes since I started. So there was a real, not that there was a fragment as such, but certainly our attitude within the culture of the staff here has been very much one of improvement. We don't believe or claim, or the attitude around here is we don't claim to know everything, and we certainly want feedback. So whether we do something great or we do something not so great, or we make errors, we're open to the feedback and then implementing those policies. So that and modernising the association, which is, to me, that's the legacy there that I really, really hope continues through. We've started a process. We've partnered with an organisation who are extremely high level at what they do within reforming associations. And that's not just the board, the constitution, the way we structure policies, processes. And I think that, again, as I said at the start, structure has integrity. And if we can get the structure right within GBOTA, then that can filter through on everything else. So that's one that, while I've started it, I won't be at GBOTA when it finishes, but I'll certainly be watching with interest, and I'm sure I'll be staying in touch with how that process unfolds as well.
Al, 2 more before I let you go. Look, this next topic is one on the lips of, I reckon, nearly every participant that I talk to, especially in and around the city at the moment. The future of Wentworth Park. We know the lease is up in 2027. We know the New South Wales government has declared and gone on record to say that greyhound racing will be out of Wentworth Park at the end of the lease. What is the future of Wentworth Park, do you think?
Mate, that's really spin my words out, in the negotiation of the Labor government with us. So prior to the election, we received a letter of commitment from the Labor government, from the then Shadow Minister, committing to working with GBOTA on a resolution to move out of Wentworth Park, which would no doubt include compensation for doing so. So now it's down to working with the Labor government, with the current Racing Minister, David Harris, which we're hopeful of seeing in the next 1 to 2 weeks, as well as working with Chris Minns and the Labor government to see what that actually looks like. And again, that's one of those ones where GRNSW and GBOTA have really worked hand in hand. So we've been working with GRNSW on a lot of the negotiations pre-election. All the groundwork's been done. Now it's just a matter of what that looks like. And as you said, September 2027 will be out of Wentworth Park. What that funding looks like, where that goes, is still very much up in the air. However, the Labor government are 100% committed to working with us, which is real positive. So now it's just a matter of what that looks like. And one of the many things I think that the future of greyhound racing kind of are up in the air with, right?
Absolutely, mate. Hey, we've talked a lot about your job with GBOTA and the CEO role. Let's talk about something that's happened around the track involving your boy, Integrity Mate. Of course, you own him. You mentioned working with Rob earlier. You won the inaugural Thunderbolt at Grafton last year, and he's only been retired in the last week as well, mate. How about you finish off by giving us a bit more information about him, and how's the ride been over the last 12 months especially?
Mate, absolutely loved it. I mean, I got back into, and I say back into, I've been in greyhound racing all my life, in and out of it. As far as the level that I've been committed, my father has built multiple greyhound properties and been in it. His best mate was Gary Ralph, who owned a legend of the sport in Roanoke, and owned and trained with Roger Green. So I got back into it a number of years ago when my dad retired, to just have a couple of greyhounds that we could play around with, and that kind of evolved into then buying a property at Casino, and I've got a business partnership there with Robbie Andrews, who trains all our dogs. And we managed to buy Integrity Mate off Brad Barnes. He had a litter there. He reached out. I decided to buy one of them, which turned out to be Integrity Mate. Robbie reared him, and from day one he was super exciting, and he was just very, very raw and reaching through to win that Thunderbolt, mate. When you talk about the impact that you have on people's lives, for me it wasn't about the finances. It was when I turned around to see my dad, who's been in it all his life, and as a young guy had a number of greyhounds but never one like that, to see him have tears and kind of that be, wow, to win a $75,000 feature race like that, and then to see what it does for Robbie. That's what I love about the game, mate. It can literally change people's lives overnight, and massive kudos to Rob for what he did with him to get him to win that. And obviously winning on the nose and the whole family being there, it was something special. And then, mate, yeah, last week he was back to his. We knew he was about to be back to his best too, and 4 or 5 lengths in front, and then dropped his back muscle. And as Robbie said, probably 6 to 9 month journey, and really he's done what he needs to do. He's such a phenomenal dog, both on the track and off the track. Off the track, he's every bit the same dog that he is on the track. Just a beautiful, beautiful animal, and he deserves his retirement now. He's earned us $140,000, and the memories for sure. So now to look at the new clan that are coming through.
Well, look, a fascinating chat, mate. Hopefully one that plenty of participants, owners, trainers, whoever's listening will appreciate. Your enthusiasm for the sport, mate, it stands out. You're a successful businessman before you took on this role. I'm sure that'll continue with whatever endeavour you chase from here on out, and enjoy spending more time with the family. Thanks so much for taking some time to chat with us on Going Greyhounds this morning.
More than welcome, Simon. Greatly appreciate it, mate. I'm sure I'll be around the sport, so look forward to catching up with everyone as a participant again.